Since the beginning of human agriculture, the unique properties of cannabis and hemp have been used and manipulated to improve the quality of life for people all across the world. The process of cultivating food, herbs and spices, and other plants used to make food, pottery, textiles, and the like is human developed, not natural, and is considered a fairly recent invention with evidence dating back to 10,000 BC in Asia. Today's purposes and methods of benefiting from the cannabis plant are even more apparent, and there are medical professionals dedicated to unlocking the true potential of cannabis. Washington was one of the first states in modern American history to make the plant completely legal to consume, and because of that, many other states are following suit. As a medical marijuana patient, I'd love to take the time to show you the many benefits and appeals of this plant and to urge you to support the fight for national legalization. Since before Washington became a developed state to monitor and control production, sales, and tax, California was a state that allowed patients access to cannabis, offered different methods of consumption, and a wide variety of strains to aid the patients with whatever symptoms or illness they had. Smoking cannabis was just one of the ways to enjoy the effects of the plant. But since becoming a Washington resident, I've been introduced to BHO, or butane hash oil, which is smoked out of an e-cig or a vaporizer and is comprised of a liquid THC concentrate. No smoke or odors involved with this method, and a gram of oil is more expensive and less fulfilling in my opinion. There is also an array of other cannabis-related products such as edibles like brownies, cookies and candy, as well as teas and other beverages, plus topical creams and ointments. You don't necessarily have to be a smoker to reap the medical benefits of cannabis, and this new frontier of products will ensure that it stays that way. More states are passing the laws that allow people to use medical marijuana. So what does it treat, and who can and should use it? The fact that there are medical qualities within cannabis and hemp has led to its worldwide usage and eventually to its legalization in Washington and Colorado. The relief of pain, anxiety, and stress as a result from a numerous amount of diseases and illnesses have been credited to marijuana and its properties, and the patients of this so-called drug, no matter where in the world, have embraced it with open arms. Not only does THC have a part in the healing, soothing portion of recovery, but CBD, another cannabinoid in marijuana, is responsible for pain relief more than the likes of THC, but doesn't provide the patient with a sedated feeling. Physicians and caretakers around the globe have acknowledged the properties of medical cannabis and have incorporated it into the treatment of a vast array of sicknesses. The list of these illnesses is lengthy and includes major sicknesses and ailments like HIV, glaucoma, cancer, anorexia, insomnia, lymphoma, and Hep C. Even though medical grade cannabis can't cure any of these conditions, it definitely helps ease the pain and sidetracks the mind of sick patients. When I got shot in 2010, marijuana did wonders for my peace of mind and helped alleviate the pain in my liver, my back muscles, and my abdominals. And even though it might not have been legal in Florida, medicine is medicine regardless of the law and the politics surrounding the subject, in my personal opinion. My question to you is, do you think more positive results can come from the national legalization? Put yourself in the shoes of one of the millions of people that rely on the stress and pain relieving effects of one of nature's strongest medicines and think about it from all angles. As I stated before, marijuana can be consumed in a number of ways that's beneficial to the patient, but most often the patient is likely to smoke cannabis, and that's usually out of a bong, papers, or a blunt, which is my personal preference. Even with the bad effects of smoking, cannabis is still better to smoke than tobacco. Short-term effects can mimic those of tobacco, such as higher blood pressure, fatigue, agitation of asthma, and bronchitis and hunger, but you might think these seem to be more like symptoms instead of side effects, but in comparison to the hard narcotics like cocaine, heroin, and ecstasy, and the effects are minuscule. Heroin is described as a wonder drug, but in actuality, it's extremely harmful. It can cause the long-term effects such as muscular weakness and deterioration, respiratory infections and complications, impotence, introversion, depression, and partial paralysis. Meth is another substance that can cause serious health issues when its use is habitualized. Deficits in motor and cognitive skills, aggression, confusion, psychosis, Mood disturbances, weight loss, and addiction are factors in long-term usage. Ecstasy, which is used primarily by the younger generation, is a club drug, and even though its pleasurable effects have the user in a state of euphoria, the long-term effects of this drug can be detrimental to a person's health too. Dependency addiction is a risk of continued use of this drug, along with paranoid delusions, insomnia, panic attacks, and a distorted sense of reality. With narcotics such as these and their documented long-term effects, how does cannabis even compare? Let's ask a few politicians. Former DEA Administrator Peter Bensinger has tried time and time again to over-exaggerate the consequences of legalized marijuana and its effects to young people. His argument was that it's what's called a gateway drug, meaning the first step in the direction of habitual, harder drug usage. I can halfway agree with that specific point, especially considering teenagers and peer pressure accompanied by stress and even displacement. Cannabis itself won't make you want to try another drug. It's the curiosity, the intrigue of a potentially new feeling or level of high that compels young people to try harder drugs. Barack Obama, our dear president, said himself that marijuana is no more harmful than alcohol, which I totally agree with him on, and that he was a recreational user himself as a young person in college. He wasn't endorsing marijuana, but his statement was clear to the nation. Marijuana is not the enemy. In conclusion to my argument, cannabis is a natural pain-relieving plant that works wonders for the patients that use it. Unlike cocaine and heroin, which is derived from plants as well, but are processed to extract the habit-forming substances, cannabis use is recommended by physicians everywhere in the world and has become a part of American culture, whether legal or not, and has far outweighed the cons for decades. Politicians have slandered it, but not just because they have a just reason, but because of their own political agendas. The thing that bothers me the most is the fact that politicians are supposed to represent the people, which in many cases they don't. With all that I've taken the time to explain about medical cannabis, it's time to answer that question yourself. Which side are you on? I hope it's on the side of the patients whose quality of life is improved, because without it, how much more crazy and unsolved will the world be?